and thank you for tuning in. We have an awesome show for you today, and everyone should be listening. You know how it goes. Go text somebody, go tweet somebody, go and share it on Facebook and Instagram, and email them, call them, or do whatever you need to do. But let's get the word out that we have a good show for you today on What's Happening Now on KBLKradio.com. And today we have as our guest Carol Bowser, Miss Carol Bowser, my wife. And so she's going to be with me today. Her first time since we've had the show, or any of the radio shows since last year. I think we started this, been over a year now. And so she's going to be with us today, first time guest. Normally she's on the other end recording things like that for us, so we can get it up on YouTube and things. But today we're going to be discussing, I have her here because there's no other better person for me to be discussing keys to being a happy couple. And so if you want to call in and join the conversation today, you can call in at 619-919-4745. Again, that's 619-919-4745. Don't wait till I go off the air and call me. Let's deal with this. You don't like something I say, tell me about it. Let's talk about it. So today I want to look at the book of Psalms, as a quote for today. And I have another quote towards the end of some information that I'm going to share with you. But the Songs of Solomon, 8 and 7, it says, even much water cannot put out the flame of love. Floods cannot drown love. If a man offer everything in his house for love, people would totally reject it because love is powerful. Colossians 3:14, it says, do all these things, but most important, love each other. Love is what holds you all together in perfect unity. And when there's no love, and when there's disunity, there's no love. And that applies in every kind of relationship, but especially in relationships of intimacy, of couples. So, marriage. And that's what we want to talk about today. Now, I want to share some facts with you that I gathered from Save America Ministries. And this was a 2012 edition called The State of the Marital Union. And this is not just dealing with blacks, even though we're going to give you some black stats here, but this is dealing with all America. And in summary, Christianity Today said in this fact sheet that a crumbling institution, that's what marriage is, a crumbling institution. And so we got to address that because there's big problems in marriage, in relationship, even getting there. I mean, these days folks can't even get past dating, girlfriend, boyfriend type of thing, or whatever you want to call it today, because, in the Bible, there ain't no such thing as girlfriend, boyfriend. But here's some of the facts that it shared with us. The U.S. Census 2000 reveals, and this is talking about America, is in shocking retreat from marriage. It's retreating from marriage. And it gives us a U.S. Census 2000 reveals households headed by unmarried partners grew 72% from 1990 to 2000. That's 10 years. Nuclear or intact families fell below 25% of all households. 46% of married couples versus 43% of unmarried couples are raising children. The trend is still climbing for unmarried couples, but is declining for married couples since 1990. Cohabitation has increased 1,000%. Let me say that again. Cohabitation has increased 1,000%. And that's why divorce rates are kind of falling off, because people ain't getting married no more. They're just shacking up. And what they call cohabitation, or living together without marriage. And, before I go on with these stats, one of the things, a question I always ask people when I'm getting ready to counsel them on marriage is, what's the difference between shacking up and being married? And, they go through a lot of different trying to responses, but I say commitment. That person that's living together, somebody, y'all not committed. You can talk about, oh, that's my man or my woman, don't be the whatever, but you're not committed. If you're committed, put a ring on her finger, and that'll show how committed you are. So it also reveals that marriage among black women declined from 62% to 31%. And I feel you on that. By age 30, one half of American women have cohabitated One half. Wow, by age 30. So here's another fact that they share with us. America clings to divorce as a gospel tenet or of our right to pursue liberty, life, liberty, and happiness. So folks say, hey, I can divorce you because this is America and freedom, and I'm not happy with you, so let me go to somebody else. So we know that happiness is a big part of it, the problem. And so we want to try to talk about what can make a happy marriage. You know, we're not experts and we don't have all the answers, but, you know, we've been married for 30 years, and I think that we can share something with you, you know. So as of 1995, there were 1.2 million divorces each year, leaving 1 million children each year without a true family. In 1996, of 3,142 randomly selected adults, including 1,220 professed born-again believers, 23% of non-Christians were divorced, 27% of born-again Christians were divorced, 30% of fundamental Christians were divorced, and that comes from the Barna Report. In 1995, Protestant pastors are equally as likely to divorce as their parishioners, and that comes from the Hartford Seminary study of 4,400 pastors and 2,401 women and 2,039 men, and of that 44,000. In 10 Protestant denominations, including liberal and conservative, that's where that report comes from. In 1999, the divorce rate in the Bible Belt of America soared to 50%, causing governors of Oklahoma and Arkansas to declare a marital emergency. The highest rate of divorce is among Protestant Christians in the Bible Belt. That's a Rutgers University study. So then, in 2005, 23% of born-again Christians have divorced their spouses, a rate statistically equal to our non-Christian and pagan or worldly or unsaved, unbelieving counterparts. 90% of divorce among Christians occur after they came to Christ. Let me read that again. 90% of all divorces among Christians occurred after they came to Christ. And that's a Barna report on August 2nd, 2000. 35% of Americans who have ever married have divorced. The figure is the same for Christians. 23% of born-again Christians have divorced 2 or more times. Wow. For every 100 new marriages, 51 end in divorce. In 2010, marriage rate dropped, cohabitation increased, causing divorce rate to fall. So who is divorcing by our nation? By nations, I should say. That's around the world. In America, 51% of people are divorcing in America. In France, 33%, Germany, 30%, Israel, 30%, Netherlands, 28%. By religious persuasion, Protestants, 39%. That's 44% of Pentecostals and 25% Presbyterians. And so among Catholics, 25%, atheists, 37%. By region, the Bible Belt in the South, 50% higher than national average. Northeast, that's like Massachusetts and Maine, lowest in the country. By race, black, 30%, never married, 38%. White, 32%, never married, 21%. Hispanic, 31%, never married, 41%. By politics, we're talking about divorce. Conservatives, 28%. Liberals, 37%. That's why we've got to stop letting these liberals influence the black culture, specifically, let alone American culture. Divorce, many people believe, is the politically correct thing to do. And so a June 6, 1995 USA Today editorial asks if conservatives and the Christian Coalition are worried about family values. If they're worried about family values, shouldn't they put divorce at the top of the list? How come that's not the contract with America? That was way back in the 90s when they had a contract with America, and we say there's contract on America. But they asked, well, why divorce ain't on there? Because a lot of them been divorced. We decry the breakdown of the family, but refuse to admit that it is divorce that has nearly shredded the fabric of what we warmly call the essential building block of the republic, the family. And so denial runs deep among pastors and parachurch leaders, those right under the pastor helping that core. Historically, unprecedented support of remarriage by the church drives the divorce debacle. We make it acceptable, socially acceptable to divorce from pastors on down. You know, pastor get divorced, you flood to his church, you know, it don't mean nothing to you no more. So if you don't hold them accountable, they're going to continue to do those kind of things. And then that trickles on down to the congregation, or from the congregation, it trickles on up to the pastors if they don't have no principles. So social conservatives say they are defending marriage but refuse to talk about divorce. Why is that so? Because their supporters are divorcing in droves. Harping on the subject divorce would be bad business, and that's even in the church. And so I know I'm going to get a lot of flack. People going to hate on me because I'm talking about it, because so many people have been divorced, and that's part of the problem. So this includes virtually all of the prominent Christian parachurch ministries purporting to wage war for righteousness in the culture wars. They will fight homosexuality, but become amazingly silent on divorce. Let me say that again. They will fight homosexuality, but become amazingly silent on divorce. Even conservative Christian voices are paralyzed by political correctness and the pursuit of profit to promote and maintain ministries ostensibly dedicated to preserving the family. We fear, this is what they say, we fear losing ministry finances more than the destruction of families. That's what they fear. People leaving because they're preaching on it and calling for it, or folks illegally get married. They say you can't do that here, and so folks end up leaving. And so, as long as we have an open door where folks can shop and find a church to go to that's going to let them do what they want to do, people are going to continue to do it. And we see that all over the place. And so I guess I'm going to have a small church until I die, because I'm not compromising. So we fear losing ministry finances more than the destruction of families, they say. Pastors and parachurch leaders virtually broke on the D word, divorce. Choked on the D word, divorce. We claim we can truthfully teach God's plan for marriage without also strongly teaching God hates divorce as treachery to his creation ordinance. And that's found in Malachi 2. A clue to refusal of pastors to challenge their people on matters of divorce is that divorce among pastors is the second highest among all professions. And that's found in the Enjoy Ministries Partners in Prayer. So divorce is driven by remarriage, because a person feels they can get divorced, they get remarriage. And biblically speaking, there's only certain grounds you can get divorced, but today they don't care. You can get married to whoever you are. So until the late 1960s and early 1970s, remarriage was categorically deemed adultery unless your spouse was deceased or had committed adultery, and it still stands today. Divorce was also virtually non-existent. In the early 1970s, secular psychology married the church through the God is Love movement, and exchanging faith for feelings as a hallmark of moral authority, opening the door for the first time in history to remarriage unrestricted by biblical prohibition. No-fault divorce linked arms with no-fault remarriage. In other words, irreconcilable differences. I file a divorce. You don't want to sign it. I can still send it through court, and we got a divorce. And so that's where society has taken us. So let me finish this up, because we're going to go ahead and go on a break. Then we'll come back. We'll come back with my wife, Kara Bowser, and we're going to have a discussion on this. And so divorce is contagious, and even 2 degrees of separation, that is, a friend of a friend, results in 33% divorce increase. And the results of that came from the Brown University study of 12,000 Americans living in New England since 1948. So our conclusion, divorce is America's fulcrum spiritual issue. Divorce is to the church what abortion is to the nation. When America's commitment to restore a marriage, perhaps her heart will be restored to the life of her children. Each is born and protected by our headlong pursuit of self and self-fulfillment. We have pursued happiness with God when God called us to holiness, and now we are neither happy nor holy. Without open repentance by pastors, parachurch leaders, and people on the divorce remarriage debacle, there will be no true spiritual revival in the land. And at this moment, we're going to go ahead and take our break, and then when we come back with a quote and with my wife, Kara Bowser.
San Diego's new source for R&B, KBLK.
All right, welcome back to What's Happening Now on KBLKradio.com, and thank you for staying with us, and also to our live streamers on Facebook. Thank you for viewing this, and please stay with us. Don't get turned off or get upset. There's healing, there's deliverance, and there's strength in truth and accepting that truth. A wise man would accept the rebuke, but a fool would turn away from it in the name of the Lord. So I have a quote for you. I have a quote for you. Nothing in this world is more difficult than love, and nothing is more worth it. The best relationships are not just about the good times you share, they're also about the obstacles you go through together. And the fact that you still say, I love you in the end. And loving someone isn't just about saying it every day, it's showing it every day through your actions and behaviors. The best relationships are the best not because they have always been the happiest, but because they have stayed strong through the mightiest storms. And that's from Mark and Angel Chernoff. All right, Sister Carol, Miss Carol Bowser, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm reading, I'm looking. So what do you think about what we just read and talked about?
I think it's true, but I think the fault, as I always say at home, I think the fault lies within the church, because the church is it's lost its power, and if the pastors aren't held accountable, then the people are going to reflect what they see. So it's gonna, whatever they do, the people accept it, then it's gonna grow. So if the pastor is divorced, then people are gonna feel, okay, it's okay to get divorced. It's okay to shack up. If he's not teaching on it, it's okay to shack up. So I'm gonna do what I want to do. There's no accountability there. So yeah.
So when we talk about relationships and things like that, I was told that a person's disappointment in their partner often reflect the disappointment in themselves. And their acceptance of their partner often reflect the acceptance of themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't agree with that.
Okay, let's.
Because if a person, if they're disappointed in their partner, it doesn't mean that they're disappointed in themselves.
Okay.
I can be disappointed in you, but that's not going to reflect on who I am.
Right.
So no, if I'm disappointed in you, I'm going to try to see what I can do to help, make it better. Not look at myself and say, oh man, it's because of me that things are the way it is. No. I'll work on, making it better. Not taking,
and I think
relationship.
Yeah, and I think that that is important, but also one of what you just said is important too. On the other side of that, what we're talking about here is a lot of times people have a certain imagination or ideal or vision or dream about the individual that they with, right, and what they want them to be. Right. You know what I mean? And so many times, instead of accepting them as who they are, they want to change them. Right. And that's kind of when I was looking. That's what I was kind of viewing it as, is that. And I think I agree with you. And I think on the other side of that is that I think people can get disappointed from the perspective that they're disappointed with themselves. They're looking for something that it's not going to fulfill them. If you're not self-satisfied and find that contentment within yourself, you're most definitely not going to marry somebody and find contentment. People that say that they're lonely, and if I just had a spouse or had a mate, I'd be happy. I'm sorry, you're not going to be happy, because it's a lot of work. That's like right. She just mentioned, you got to work on that. You got to work. If you can't fight for happiness in your own life, you most definitely ain't going to be able to fight for happiness in your marriage. And that's what I mean by that point. But I think you're absolutely right on the other end of it when you talk about people being disappointed, because people do. If I'm strong and healthy, then I'm going to be happy. It doesn't mean I'm disappointed by myself, but I don't like some things in principle and what you're doing, and so you choose to address them. And I think that's where it comes down to communication. We hopefully can get into that. Do you think that the first step to having a healthy relationship with someone else is to have a healthy relationship with yourself? And if so, why?
Yes, because if you're not healthy, then you're going to take that unhealthiness into the relationship. You're going to, and like you were talking about yesterday in your message, hurting people hurt people. So if you're not together, if you're not healthy, if you're hurting, then you're going to take that hurt into the relationship, and then the relationship could possibly become unhealthy. Right.
And I think, people are afraid to be alone. And so they got to be with somebody. Even if they break up with someone, then they immediately jump into another relationship. And sometimes it becomes sexual.
Right.
And people don't realize, that it's a spiritual connection there. And when you start having sex with people, that's why it becomes so hard to untie from that and break away from that person because you done had sex with them. Which that's why God said, you don't commit fornication. You're supposed to wait until you get married. And let me just tell you that marriage does not consummate the marriage. I mean, sex does not consummate the marriage. It's those vows that you made that consummate that marriage and gives you the right to have sex. You know what I'm saying? Because some people say, oh, well, we didn't consummate marriage, we can get divorced. No, I don't think so. You're married because when you said I do, you made those vows. God holds you accountable to those vows, and you're married. And that's the bottom line to that. Joseph was married to Mary. When they was pledged, they were officially married. That's why the Bible says he was going to divorce her privately, when he found out that she was pregnant, because he knew he hadn't had sex with her, and there was no way he could be the father, so she was cheating on him as a virgin, so she could have got stoned to death. So he was going to divorce her privately because they were already married, committed to each other, and so on. So when you get married, when you make those vows, you're official, and that's what gives you the right, the legal right in the eyes of God to have sex. And sex does not consummate marriage. And if you're shacking up and having sex, you're tying yourself into that person. And that's why many times it's hard to break away from that individual because you're stuck with that. Any follow up on that? Okay, so many couples let outsiders step into in order to have a healthy relationship with someone else. And I think the first steps that people should take, in their relationships for them, couples should first work on themselves. And after they worked on themselves, then they can start seeking to get married. I see a lot of people that are all messed up themselves, and they got a lot of issues, even some addictions, and think that they're going to get a mate that's going to help them work through these things and so forth, instead of working on themselves. So what do you think? Should couples having an issue with their partner work it out with themselves, wait till they get married to work it out? Should they work it out themselves? And then once they get married, what do they do as far as other people trying to get into that relationship?
They need to keep other people out their relationship.
Okay. And how do they do that?
Keep other people out their relationship. I mean, that's kind of, cut and dry. Just keep people out your relationship. Keep them out your business. Open and honest, we went through that. Because I used to always talk to my mom. I'm not afraid
Lord
to say
help
it.
us.
I used to always talk to my mother. And so when you paint that picture of somebody, your soon to be made, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, when you paint that picture, that's what they're going to see. That's the only thing that they're going to see. When something goes wrong, they're going to bring everything back up. They're not going to, say, okay, well, they're going to start fresh or whatever. That's what they're going to see. They're going to see that image, that picture that you painted. And that's one thing that I always tell the kids, is that don't talk to anybody. Keep everybody out your business. Tell her, before you guys get married, tell her, keep your parents out our business, because if you paint that picture and that parent does not like him or her, they can forget it, because that's going to be a lifelong thing. Even though you guys are going to be together, that's going to be a lifelong thing.
Yeah. And sometimes people feel that they have to have somebody to talk to, to what they're getting through. One of the things that I've learned, early in our marriage is not to talk to people and bring people into our relationship. So I didn't talk to anybody. I talked to God. I'll go get on my knees and talk to God about it, then get up and come talk to her, and so on. And I think, even what she said, talking with her mom and things like that got on my nerves. And I used to tell her, but the on the other side of that coin is that sometimes when people don't like certain things in their marriage, they're ready to, I'm going to divorce you, I'm leaving you, I'm gone. And when I married her, I was committed. When I married her, my commitment is that this is for life. So I never ever came to her and said, I'm leaving you, or I want a divorce, or no matter how worse or how bad things were, those words never came out of my mouth, because I was committed to this relationship. And so you have to be committed. You know, when if you tie that knot, you have to be committed. Know that this is a lifelong commitment. No matter how bad or how horrible things are in that relationship, you're going to have to, wait it out and pray through it and work through it and get through it if it's going to last. Because they have a saying in church: trouble don't last always. If you can weather the storm, you'll get through it, and it's going to be all right. In the long run, you'll have a testimony for other people and so on. So, yeah, go ahead.
One thing you did say that I had to learn to do was to pray. Stop talking to my mom. Learn to pray and learn to work it out, between ourselves. I was the one on the other end. I was saying, "Oh, I'm out. I'm gone." But I had to learn. I had to learn him. I had to learn to love him. Yeah, it was something new. I didn't have many boyfriends, so I had to learn to love him and commit myself to the relationship. And I think that's something that's missing. You talked earlier when something goes wrong. It's easy to get up and say, "Okay, I'm gone."
Yeah.
Or mouth those words, and people make it easy, when they cohabitate.
Right.
They make that easy. And so, no, we were in it, and we decided, on our first date, pretty much, that, hey, when I get married, there's divorce is not an option.
Yeah. And I think, and let me say this, because I know that a lot of people feel that way when they get married. I see people all the time get married, they look so happy, and they're in their minds, both of them. Sometimes, you have some crooks and people playing games even in marriage, but most of the time people are sincere and they're real about it. Even people that have been divorced, that wasn't their plan, to get married and get divorced. So I believe that people really believe that this is it. I found the one that I love and want to spend the rest of my life with, and this is going to be until death separates us. I believe most people believe that, but not really understanding what they're getting themselves into. And that's what I look and I see, and I said, man, you just don't know. There's going to be times you're going to want out. There's going to be times you're going to get tired of this. And like Bishop Reed used to say, when him and his wife wasn't getting along, he didn't realize both of them were singing the same song. They knew they couldn't divorce, so they said, "I'll be glad when you die, you rascal, you." They both were singing the same song. "I'll be glad when you die," because the issues that they're having with each other and so on, because they knew that was the only way out. But we have to be, we have to understand that marriage is not going to be easy. It's hard work. It's rolling up your sleeves if you want to have happiness in it. And if you allow other people to get into your marriage, you're not going to be happy. If you see divorce as an option, as soon as you become unhappy, instead of working on pursuing that happiness and what can make the marriage happy, you're just going to say, "I'm out of this. I'm not happy," or "I don't love you anymore." Well, if you fall out of love, learn to fall back in love, because if you say you fell out of love, you don't love that individual no more, that's not grounds for divorce. And so if you're committed, then you got to stay committed even then. So let me get to another question here. I believe in order for couples to find happiness in their relationships, couples must make their own love rules, love agreements, and love habits. That means you don't compare your relationship to anyone else's, not your parents, friends, co-workers, or the random couple whose relationship seems perfect. And I want to get your thoughts on this. And one of the things that like with me, before we got married, I told my wife, I'm not this romantic type of person. I'm not going to be holding your hand, walking through the mall and hugged up and things like that. That's just not me. We do it sometimes. I make the sacrifice and do it sometimes because she's very attachable and want to get intimate, real close and intimate, things like that. I'm just not that way. And I don't know, sometimes people can look at other folks, and see those things. Well, why can't you do that to me? Right. I bet you they're happy, and that's why we're not happy, rather than learn to accept. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. Don't compare your relationship to anybody else, because you don't know what's going on in the home. When couples get out in public, it kind of gets on my nerves. They're just all over each other. To me, that's just show. If you want to do that, go get a room. I don't need to see that. But never compare your relationship to somebody else's, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they've been through to get to that point. If they're not, if it's on the up and up and they're real about it, you don't know what they had to do to get there. Just don't compare. Your marriage is what you make it. It's what you make it. I mess with him, It was just the other day I was messing. I grabbed his hand. I know he's not like that, but I just grabbed his hand. And he was like, "Oh, you messing with me? No, I'm not messing with you. I just want to hold your hand." But you got to do what you got to do. You make your marriage what you want to make it. If you know who you're dealing with, what you're dealing with, it's okay to mess with them sometimes. It's okay to do that. Just love him. Just make your marriage what you want to make it. Pray about it. Lord, help me to be what he needs me to be. If you don't like that, then help me, kind of draw back a little bit. Do it every now and then. That's what I do. Just do it every now and then. Let them know, okay, you know what, I love you. But, no, don't compare your relationship.
Yeah, because that stuff is not real. I mean, it could be real, but you don't know if it's real.
Right.
You don't know if it's superficial or not because you don't know what, like Carol said, you don't really know what's going on in the house and in privacy.
Right.
Because, when we talk Carol Cornelius, some couples call each other honey and say, hey, honey, hey, sweetheart, hi, darling, and all the see you later, baby, things like that. I don't do none of that, but people can say, well, why can't you call me honey? Why can't you call me sweetheart every now and then in public, whatever, and so on, and so on. But to me, I'm just real. I'm just who I am. I ain't trying to be like anybody else. This is me. What you see is what you get, and hopefully you understood these things before we got married. And by the way, I understand that. I'm going to ask your opinion on this, but I understand today is different from the time when we got married. That was in 1986, right? And things were a little different then. I mean, they were changing during that time, but it's gotten a lot worse now in regards to marriage and relationships and things like that, versus today. And so a lot of times people feel that they got a date for 2 years and 3 years and 5 years and things like that. That's still no guarantee that your marriage is going to be successful or you're going to have a happy marriage. And because you got to grow to learn and get to know each other. And I'm saying that because I met my wife I didn't meet her. We both went to the same church. We was in the choir together, all these things. I never paid attention to her till she gave a testimony about wanting to be saved. Because I was looking for a sister that wanted to be saved. And because I was saved, I gave it all up, and I was looking for somebody that the same. And when she testified how she wanted to be saved, I started watching her, see if she was saved. And then when I realized, okay, she could be the one, we started dating in January, got married in July, 6 months. We dated 6 months. Got married on my birthday, July 5th, 1986. And that was 6 months' time. And so people today saying, well, nah, we got to get to really know each other. There ain't going to be no 6 months. Now, I believe that it can when people are mature and people are ready, for marriage. You can get married in a month if you're really ready for it and you grow to learn each other when you understand those things. But I think today, people don't really understand. Then you have people that's writing books and teaching seminars and doing all the other things, been divorced themselves several times, or not even married, and because they went to school and read books and done studies and research and talked to thousands of people, think that they can give me the stats. That's fine, but like I just did, but you can't counsel me. You can't share anything with me based on that because you haven't been successful yourself. But even celebrities like Steve Harvey, they kind of, look at him as a celebrity, so he's successful. But this dude's been divorced all these different times, write a book, everybody go for it. Right. Evidently, he don't know what he want in a woman. Right. So, so you don't want to know how he think like that man, right. Or whatever the book. I never read it, but what do you think about that as far as people taking their time in a relationship? Because if you wait too long, what end up happening is that you start getting caught up in a lot of things, right. Fornication, all these other different things, and so on.
I think they should, nowadays, I think they should take their time. Mm-hmm. Because time has changed so much. Like you said, from when we were dating and when we got married, things have drastically changed to me. Mm-hmm. So you don't know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. So I would say give yourself enough time to see the red flags, because you don't know. I always refer to the movie what is his name?
Who?
R. Kelly, that R. Kelly did. Locked in the closet.
Trapped in the closet.
Trapped in the closet. You don't know what you're getting, so give yourself enough time to get to know that person, see the red flags, make sure you're not getting in a bad relationship. But I would not go longer than a year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and I know people, have plans and careers and stuff like that, and say, hey, we want to. Well, do that first.
Right.
I don't think, and I know folks gonna get upset. I don't think that you should be dating if you're not ready for marriage.
Exactly.
And just dating and talking about, well, what you gonna do?
Right.
You should be prepared and ready for marriage. If you're working on your career, then work on your career.
Yeah.
That as simple as that. And when you get married, you should be ready to build a family. That's what it's supposed to be. Marriage is supposed to be all about. If you read the Bible and so on. And so people, but it's also for companionship and and all those things. God give you all those things. He said it's not good for man to be alone, and so He made the woman. So and He gave him a suitable helpmeet, somebody that was his companion and compatible with him. So here's something else. Sex is not love. Especially in the beginning of a relationship, attraction and pleasure in sex are often mistaken for love. Right. And so that's why I say you get that attachment when you have to say, oh, I love you. And then the moment they do something you like, you're going off and ready to break up with them. And you have sex and then you want to get married. But sex is good. Sex is great. But it's the easy part. Intimacy is what makes a relationship last. It requires honest communication and openness about concerns, fears, sadness, as well as hopes, dreams, and happiness. And that's what he's talking about, going that year to get to know this, learn these things, and get that information. What is your opinion on that?
I agree. But you said sex is the easy part. I think sex is the hard part. Because as you stated earlier, when you begin to have sex with a person, you have a connection with them now. Mm-hmm. So it makes it hard. If things do go wrong, you're having problems, then it makes it hard for you to break away from that person. But especially in the beginning of a relationship, no, don't read Steve. Don't agree with Steve Harvey. 90 days, 60 days, whatever. No, it's not happening until I get married.
Mm-hmm. Right. And and so my thing is that in marriage, when people, well, let's back up what you were saying first. Mm-hmm. If folks are having sex before marriage, and they call it premarital sex, then that can muddy the water, right, and cloud your mind, right, in a sense of what you really have here. Right. And we're not telling you something based on just what you should do. This is something that we did. We did not have sex until we got married. I mean, we was tempted several times, but we did not have sex until we got married. Okay. And so we could tell you that based on our own experience, not just, based on what the Bible says, even though you should do the Bible, but we live that. But, and so I don't know what that was like before marriage. I know what it's like after marriage and so on when it comes to sex. So I agree with that's part. But then once people get married, sometimes all they think the marriage is about is sex. You know what I mean? And not working on the building communication and working on these other things. And so because even before you get married, when you start learning a person, when you get married, you're still growing and you're still learning each other and so on. So what is your opinion about that?
I agree. I don't know.
Okay, the one. Oh, okay. The one thing that is important to me in a relationship is no game playing. I hate game playing. And I'm glad you don't play games, because that's very real. So I'm fortunate, to be married to someone that don't play games and keep it real, versus some men and some women play games. Right. Even in marriage or in relationship, trying to get to that place of marriage. And that just doesn't work. So I think you should mean what you say and be for real about it. When you say you love someone, don't just be saying it to go through the motions. Oh, I love, because people play with that word, I love you, I love you. If you don't say it unless you mean it. If I tell my wife I love her, she knows that I mean it, because I don't play with that word. Don't pretend to enjoy my company and intimacy with me when you don't. Right. Don't play those games. Let's be honest with each other. Let's have some communication, conversation with them. So don't, I hope kids ain't watching this, but even, when you're having sex, don't pretend. You had an orgasm, but you enjoyed it and it was fun. Be written, honey, that didn't work, and we got some work to do. I need more time. Whatever, I need you to do this, do that, or whatever it is. And folks don't know how to communicate. and to work through some things, and you got ego in the bedroom too, so you got to put all that down and so on. But so what do you think about that, about this game plan thing and people playing games, especially in marriage, and that can ruin your happiness?
It can ruin your happiness. It can ruin your happiness, and you're living in a false world.
What do you mean by living in a false world?
Because if you're game playing, then someone told our son at one time,
Which one?
I played with her mind, buddy. I played with her mind. No, don't play with my mind. This is how I get her to do stuff because I play with her mind. No, don't play games with me. Be real. Tell me how you feel. Like you said, if you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. Let's work on this. Get that communication line open. Let's work on this. Let's try this. No, don't play games. I don't do well with playing games. I'm a real open and honest person. I may not tell you right away, but eventually I'm gonna tell you. But I don't. It's not good.
Right.
Because it doesn't make the marriage real.
Right. And we talked about this a little earlier, when we talk about trying to make somebody to be something that they're not,
Right.
In order for you to be happy,
Yeah.
because then if you do that, that person's not happy.
Right.
And so, and I really think we have to start enjoying and appreciating people for who they are.
Who they are.
And how do people, how can you do that? I mean, 'cause a lot of times you see flaws, you see issues, and you see things in that person's life that, you think they can improve on. That's what people say, improve on. And I mean, I think you should have that conversation, but there's some things you probably never change in a person, And so you're going to be miserable the rest of your life because they're not where you want them to be.
Right.
Rather than enjoying them for who they are.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
You should just accept them for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change them.
Mm-hmm.
You can never change a person.
Mm-hmm.
The only person you can change is yourself.
Right.
So you work on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the with us, I don't try to change him. I pray about how I could be a better person to him.
Mm-hmm.
Not to look at your flaws and say, well, he needs to do better than this. We all have areas we need to do better in.
Mm-hmm.
So accept that person for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to change them. And just try to make the marriage better.
Absolutely. So, I also believe finding love and happiness is a choice you make, Lord. Most people go after the person everyone else wants. And guess what? They'll probably be sharing that person with everyone else. If you want somebody, everyone else, I like the way he look, or she or this or whatever. And you don't realize is that there's probably hundreds of other people saying the same thing and in doing that. And so I think, people try to think that love and happiness is going to be in the kind of person they have on their side. Some people want a popular person. Some people want a powerful person. Some people want a person with a lot of money. Some people want a person that looks good, that's pretty or handsome. Some people want people that's got the nice physique or has a certain kind of career and things like that. But those dreams and those things that you want is fine, but guess what? There's probably a lot of other people that want the same things in that person. And so I think a lot of times people make choices on their love and happiness based on those things, which are externals and superficial things, and that's not real getting to the core and the heart of who an individual is. And when you start doing that, you can end up with the wrong person. I'm seeing this all the time. I can't say anything, but I'm seeing people all the time making bad choices, getting caught up in the wrong people, and I know a lot about some of these people, and I'm like, she just don't know about him, and or her, or he just don't know that this girl got some, and things like that. You can't really say too much getting people's business, but you truly see what it's going to lead up to, and they're going to end up getting hurt. They're going to end up being angry. They're going and not only that, but your choices demonstrate where you are mature or where you are. I don't care how you look, what kind of education you got, and things like that. But if your choices are going to expose what kind of character and person you really are, and so on. What are your thoughts on that?
True, that's true. But while you were talking, my advice would be, you need to pray. They used to tell us when I was growing up at Greater Apostolic, the mothers used to tell us, you know what, you need to pray and you need to lay out to God what you want. And then when God brings you that person, you make that choice. You choose that person that God is bringing you, then you won't have to have a bad choice. So,
And the choice is not being superficial.
right,
You know.
it's not superficial.
I mean,
Just
those.
like when
Yeah.
you chose me,
Yeah.
it was based on a spiritual thing. There was something that you were looking for. Don't just accept anything.
Right.
You
right.
know, if you see a pattern in yourself, then don't be in denial.
Right. Right.
Be real with yourself and say, you know, I'm making wrong choices here.
Right.
You know, and so it's gonna end up all the choices that you make, they're always gonna end up the same way.
Right.
If you're making those same bad choices. So my advice would be, you know, pray and see what God has for you.
Amen. Amen. And you know, Bishop Taylor, who is our pastor, she got saved under Bishop Taylor. So did I. At Great Apostolic Faith Temple Church. And that was the first time I heard it. You know, I got saved when I was 22 years old, 22 and a half years old. But he made a statement one time, and I'm sure he got it from somewhere, but he said, you know, beauty is only skin deep, but ugly is to the bones. And so many words, what's on the outside may not be what's on the inside of an individual.
That's right.
And a lot of times we're looking at things from the surface and on a superficial level. And the Bible says man looks at the outward appearance, God looks at the heart. And that's why it's so important. If you want to find happiness, you most definitely got to pray and seek God on it. And there's some sacrifices that God is calling for you to make for him to send the right person to you. You know, because a lot of times God want to make sure that he comes first.
Right.
He want to make sure that you're not going to put nothing before him. And many times people put their careers and put people and persons and everything else before God. The moment you lose your job, you're discouraging God and going. The moment you have a problem in your relationship, you blame it on God and so on. But God want to make sure you put him first. And sometimes that calls for sacrifices. That calls for you, God, that calls for things that you're going to have to do that are not easy decisions. But once God sees that you put him first, and when you pray, and when you seek God, and you let God work and guide you with wisdom and knowledge and understanding to make the right choice, because he sees in the heart. You only looking at the outer appearance. He sees in the heart. He'll lead you to the right person. And he'll lead you to a person that is committed to you. So, although it may sound risky, the strongest type of love is the love that makes you the most vulnerable. It's about daring to reveal yourself honestly and daring to be open and fully disclosed over the long term. It's about sticking by each other's side through thick and thin, and truly being there in the flesh and spirit when you're needed most. And so, and you know, one of the things I always say about my wife is that, and I share this with folks that I'm real close to and talk with, is that, you know, I know one thing, that she loves me, because she has demonstrated it not just by words, but by actions and putting up with me and working it through me, because I'm not an easy person to live with. I'm not an easy person to get along with, and so on. And so, she has really been through it with me. I've sent her through a lot, and she hung in there, and we worked through a lot of stuff. We've been through a lot of stuff, and we're still together. And I believe that that's because of love. But I do think that we have to be open and honest with each other, and really make ourselves vulnerable if we're going to grow and if we're going to build strong, healthy relationship and be happy in our relationship.
Yeah, I agree. When you were reading that, it's the vulnerable part. People don't want to be vulnerable. They want to safeguard themselves. And when you're in a marriage, you're going to, even in the marriage, you're going to get hurt. You're going to go through things, but you still have to be open. You still have to have that vulnerable love, you know, to take you beyond, you know, like you said, the flesh and the spirit. It has to take you beyond.
Right. And being there in flesh and spirit, you know, that I always tell a story about a young girl who, there was a storm, and she was in her bedroom, and she was afraid because of lightning, the thunder, and all that, and her dad came in there and was trying to comfort her to let her know everything was going to be okay. And so he wanted to leave and turn the light out and go back to his room. And she said, "No, Dad, you know, I want you to stay here." And he said, "Well, Jesus is here with you. You know, you're going to be okay." And she said, "Well, Dad, I know that Jesus is here, but right now I need some skin." In other words, I need flesh and blood in here with me. I need you here. And so a lot of times we say, "Oh, the Lord will get you through." Yeah, the Lord's going to get people through, but we need each other. We have to be there. Not only, I mean, you know, you pray on it, and yes, God is going to have to work some things out. But you got to be involved in that process. A lot of times we and this was what I was saying in church yesterday, a lot of times we say we praying on it. There's some things you don't need to pray on. because God has already shown you what you need to do. And you need to act on it, and that's what faith is all about. Faith without works is dead. And so many people, to get around taking responsibility or taking action, doing what they need to do. Well, I'm praying on it. Well, you can pray on it all you want. It's not going to, prayer itself is not going to fix it. Eventually, you're going to have to get up and come to the, if it's a relationship, you're going to have to get up and come to the table and start working on that relationship and work through some of the issues and things that you have and that you're going through and so on. So, when you connect with someone special, this person helps you find the best in yourself, right? Is in this way, neither of you actually meet the best in each other. You both grow into your best selves by spending time together and nurturing each other's growth. And so that's when you connect with someone special. And this person helps you to find the best in you. And so it's not like I've got the best person, but there's some things I can draw out. Yeah, I can bring out and things like that. You have any opinion on that? Oh, we've run out of time too. So we got about a minute. So any closing thoughts? Because this is just starting. This was, hey.
Yeah.
So I just want my closing thought is to have a happy sex life in bed. You must have a happy life outside of the sex bed.
Yep.
Okay? Because if you have problems in the bed, you're bringing those problems into the
Yep.
bed.
Yep.
Okay, the sex bed. Any closing thought?
My closing thought is grow with each other. Bouncing off the last thing you said. Grow with each other. Be there. Because the best comes out in you when you find that person. But grow with them. Learn them. Be there for them. Love them unconditionally. Because some people put conditions on love. Love them unconditionally.
Amen. And that's the end of this show. What's happening now on KBLKradio.com. Thank you for tuning in. And this show will be posted up on our Facebook page and on YouTube and things like that. So you can go back and look at it and share with others. Get this word out. And if this is something people want, we'll continue to have this. Okay, because we want to help you. God is blessing us. We want you to be blessed. All right, so tune back in next Sunday at 10 a.m. on KBLKradio.com. And thank you for being with us.